Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to a video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this guy. This is the Machineworks Merica. So this is pretty much one of their newest lightweight racing frames from Machineworks. And Machineworks, pretty much the first time I heard of them was a long time ago when they came out with the Stig 195. They were just some of the first to get into the speed game. And they have a couple other frames like the Norris and the RCAddict. And now this is their newest ultralight frame, the Merica. So we're going to be checking that out here. So it comes in this really cool little bag. So just getting it open here. Looks like pretty much everything else is individually wrapped. So here we have a bag with all our screws and spacers. You can see there is quite a lot of hardware that comes with this. Several different pieces. I think all these screws are steel there, but they also do include a bunch of these little spacers for the canopy, as well as nylon screws for your stack, so it's pretty nice. But everything's nice and included. We have sort of our two mid and bottom plates here for the middle section to hold everything together. And it is nice to see that they do have press fit nuts in this plate here, so it's going to be really easy to put together, and it makes a nice clean install. Just have two little stickers from them, red and black. That's pretty cool. You also do get a battery strap. Pretty generic one, but these are actually really decent, nice quality. Got the rubber on it, the double stitching, so pretty nice for there. Here we have I believe this is for the front, the brace that goes across. I think this is optional, but this will just help go across in the front and keep you from hitting stuff and protecting your camera some. So that's there, and then here we have the arms individually packaged, which is pretty cool. And they do have these little spacers as well. So here is the general arm design. Very neat looking. You can see it's interesting that they use the hole for the screw here where your screw will go into the nut, but this one isn't a full screw, so that means you're going to be able to take this arm out without having to undo your middle screws, which is really cool because that'll make your arm swaps super quick. And right away I can tell that these are really thick arms. I think these are 5mm. Let me measure them. Yep, they come in right at 5mm, so they're really thick, stiff arms, and they are about 6mm wide there. So very interesting to see really thin arms, but a little bit thicker, so that hopefully will be a good combination of aerodynamics and weight and durability. These should be really strong there. And then of course at the end here we have this little part sticking out to give you some motor protection, so hopefully that hits first and not your motor. And then you get 4 arms obviously, and you do get these sort of little spacers here. You get these guys, and that's going to raise the back arms up a little bit, but I'll explain that more when I put the frame together. And now this is what you get in the frame kit. This is everything that includes. You do need to, however, buy the canopy separate. So the frame itself is about $55, and then the canopy is about $15. So I wish they did come together, but this way it's just easier for you to pick whatever color you want. And the camera's blowing this out. This is a really nice red TPU. Squishy where it needs to be, but up front in the camera it's way harder. This really nice print quality. See, it says Merica up front, and I'll show this more once I attach the frame, but really nice design, really well thought out, and it looks really nice when installed looking at some of previous builds that they've done. So yeah, you do need to get this separately. So I'm going to be referencing the PDF on their website to put this guy together, and I'll come back when I have it assembled. Alright, so I'm just about finished assembling the frame here, but I just want to stop real quick to address the space inside the canopy here before I screw this on. So obviously the canopy is meant for micro cameras. This is a racing quad, so you can see this will just sort of slide right up in there. Fits perfect as you should expect it to. And then if I can find the holes to line up. So there's where the holes will sit. So that's where the camera is going to sit. Well, a little tilted there because I don't have it lined up, but it's pretty much 100% protected. This is the Foxeer Micro. It's a little bit longer than the Run Cam. The Run Cam's even shorter, but that definitely won't be on your camera field of view, so that's really nice. Your camera is fully protected and mounted up in there. And then that leaves, I don't know, probably about 20mm to get your flight controller, video transmitter, and receiver in there, because the VTX is supposed to mount underneath here in sort of this middle belly section. You hang it underneath, which is a really cool thing. I can't fit, well, maybe I can fit it in. So now I can't get it sideways with the arms on. You have to take this plate off and then drop it in there. But that's really nice to have it tucked underneath away in there. Some of my Skyline frames do that. And then you mount the flight controller here, and you can put the video transmitter in between, sort of in this cutout, to get more airflow. So that way it's underneath the pod and it gets lots of airflow in through there, so it stays cool. And then you can put your receiver up on top of the flight controller, and you should have plenty of room to run your wires up. And when you're putting the pod on, just make sure you put these little threaded sleeves in there. And then when you put the long screws that go down through, of course, make sure to use the washers so you don't depress the TPU too much. So let me get this guy mounted. Alright, so there we go. I have the canopy all assembled, and because of those little threaded sleeves that go in the TPU in the middle there, you're not really crushing the TPU and relying that on strength, since that screw does go through into the press fit nut, and that provides strength to hold the arms on, so that it tightens down on the metal to carbon. You're not relying on the TPU, so that's really nice because the arms themselves, these things are really tight and they are not budging at all, which is really surprising because there's only 2 screws, so you usually expect a little bit of flex if they're not butting up against each other, but I have to really try to get maybe like 1 or 2 millimeters of deflection, which is not going to be a problem at all, so that's really nice. And of course you do also have this little brace up front if you want to use this to help with head-on impacts. Hopefully you can see it's sort of curved a little bit. This way is down. That's just due to the geometry of the motors, so you have to have it like this to get the motor holes to line up. Obviously you put it underneath, so that'll give you a little protection up front, but it's going to be so low when you're at a high tilt, I don't really think I'm going to be using that. Save a little bit of weight there, but it looks like this is a 4x4 millimeter square crossbar. So of course I didn't use many of these standoffs yet, but it is really nice that they give you all these spacers and correct lengths of everything to hang your 4-in-1 ESC down, because obviously with arms this skinny you don't want to be putting a big bulky ESC on the arm, because that's just going to add a ton of extra weight and drag. So highly recommend going to the 4-in-1 on this setup. And then you have your flight controller under there. I forgot to mention it, but hopefully you can see. It's hard with the camera because it's blowing out this canopy. You can see these screw holes here because you're actually going to put a screw down through and hang the flight controller from the TPU mount itself. So it's kind of like soft mounting in a way, so that's really nice, and it keeps it completely independent from the arm screws, which of course is a big plus for me. I don't like when they're together, it just causes bad things to happen. So that comes down through there. Once again, all the correct length nylon screws are in here. And they also give you the correct length screws to go into the camera. There's sort of little notches up here for your tilt, but they're not marked. But I'd say you can probably, let's see what you can get. You can probably get about 70 degrees tilt out of it, and all the way down to probably about 15 degrees. So really nice wide range of degrees there. If we take a look in the back with the antenna tubes here, honestly this isn't going to be super ideal to have them down and this close at a non-90 degree angle, but for racing I think this is going to be plenty fine, more than adequate, and they're going to be very protected back here from the canopy and then the arms, and I don't think you're going to be damaging them, especially in these little tubes. They're pretty decently stiff, but they have some bend, so I don't think they're going to break. And then you can just zip tie them down over this part here, sort of little notches in here, but I think they're going to stick in there just fine. And we also have a little antenna mount for your SMA there if you want to put a screw up through that. That'll hold behind the canopy, so your antenna is going to come out something like this right here. So it's going to be decently protected back there, and then you can zip tie it to the back. There's lots of holes in here to run your zip ties through, which is nice, or you can run it directly up through here, which is probably what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be using this little TBS antenna. So I'm going to run it out of the Unify, and then you just strap it right back here, so it's decently protected, and that's a lighter weight solution. If we take a quick look that I mentioned earlier about these spacers, for the front you put the arms on the bottom, and then for the back you put the spacer and then the arm. So that kind of, if hopefully you can see this, the arms, it's not showing up real well on the camera, but the arms in the back are raised up a little bit higher than the front arms, so it's sort of a tiny bit of a Z quad. So that way when you're tilted forward, that's the main reason for the stretched X design here, which this is. Let me just actually measure this real quick. It's about 135 wide, about 155 long, and roughly 200 diagonally. So it is definitely a stretched X, and the purpose of that is to get the front props, because when you're coming through at a low angle, you're giving the back props dirty air, so when you stretch it out, that moves them back, so you get cleaner air and it's more efficient, as well as it gives a little bit better pitch control for racing. And that's the similar idea with the Z setup and raising these arms just a little bit, because that raises them higher to get them cleaner air. With this small of a difference, this 5 millimeters raised, I don't think it's really going to make much of a difference, but it is nice that they do that because that gives you more room for your ESC, so there's really no point not to. Just another cool little thing that this frame has. So one of the things I'm most interested in, hopefully you are, is the weight of this guy. Let's get a weight. This is without a battery strap and without the cross brace. So it is 64 grams, but this does include these antenna tubes, as well as, because of this pod here, it has the camera mount built in and the VTX mount built in, so it's kind of probably more like a 60-gram frame if you consider what those mounts weigh on other frames. And then if we add the brace in, that brings us about 5 grams up, so we're at 70 grams. And then a battery strap, we're looking at 74 grams. So definitely a very nice ultralight frame with a very slim aerodynamic profile. So yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of the initial bench review for the Catalyst Machineworks Norris. Overall, I'm actually really impressed with this guy so far, and I'm really excited to get this built. I've got some really cool components going on it, just pretty much my standard SpeedX 4-in-1 ESC. Got just a Foxeer Micro, this cool little TBS antenna, but the main star of the show is going to be these guys, the Brother Hobby Returner R5 2207 2700 kV motors. So they finally made an R5 version of the 2207 motors, which I've been a huge fan of. So stay tuned for a quick video coming on that if it's not already out. But I just got to give a huge shout out to Neil at Catalyst Machineworks for sending this out. They carry a lot of stuff there and they have really good prices. And some of the frames they're coming out with overall I think are really nice and innovative, and they have some really cool designs. So yeah, that's the end of the video. There will be links down below to everything, including the parts that I'm going to be building this with. If you're interested in following that, the build video will be coming soon. Just remember, if you do buy this frame, that the canopy is separate and you can choose whatever color you want out of TPU. So yeah, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.